Welcome to the Monster in My Head show, a podcast where we talk to real people about the real insecurities and issues a lot of us face, as well as discuss unique ways to overcome them. I am your host, Bree, and I'm excited today. We're going to have a little bit of a different episode. I'm not going to be talking to a guest today. I'm actually going to be talking directly to you about a topic that I'm really passionate about. Before we get into the episode, I do want to mention that I have a song that has just come out with my new album. The song is called Unperfect. It's actually what this whole episode is based on. We're going to be talking about overcoming perfectionism. I wrote this song kind of in a time in my life where I was like, you know what? I'm really tired of trying to aim for perfection. What do I have to do to kind of change my mindset? So it's a really beautiful song, one that I'm really proud of. If you want to listen to it, you can find the link in the description. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the episode. But let's get into it. So I wanted to provide 5 tips on how to overcome this feeling of perfectionism. And obviously, I'm no expert. I'm not a therapist. Take my advice with a grain of salt. But these are 5 things that I kind of found for myself that have helped me kind of take the pressure off of myself to be perfect, which I think is very difficult to do in today's society where all we see are images of perfection all around us. So I just wanted to give 5 tips. Take them how you will, leave them if they're not helpful to you. But these are the things that I've learned that have helped me in my life. So the first tip I have is to realize that absolutely no one is perfect. And I know that we hear that a lot. We hear a lot how like, yes, everything online is curated and all this stuff, but I think a lot of us don't really take that to heart. We're like, yeah, I know, but then we still look at these influencers, these celebrities, and also even our friends and see this ideal life that a lot of us don't have and think to ourselves, if only my life could be like that. If only I could be like that, I'd be perfect. But, you know, I think it's really important to drive this point home of everything online is curated. They want to show the best part of themselves. I mean, think about what you put online. Most likely you're not putting on, how difficult of a day you've had or showing yourself crying, even though actually a lot of people do that now, which is also a little bit weird. But everyone is just trying to look their best when they present themselves. So comparing our real lives to a curated version of a life is never going to work. We will never measure up to that because that's not actually real. So realizing that absolutely no one is perfect. Everyone has their bullshit going on behind closed doors. Someone may look perfect on their picture, but they could be struggling with an eating disorder. They could be struggling in their relationships. They could be getting a divorce. And not that we wish those things on anybody, but realizing that normal life is messy and we all have normal lives no matter how glamorous they are. The second tip is to realize that perfection is a moving target. This is one that I had kind of a hard time coming to terms with, but now very, very deeply believe. Perfectionism is not about getting a certain result. Perfectionism is a mindset. So let's say you're aiming for a certain career goal or a certain weight or a certain whatever. What's going to happen, what ultimately always happens, is if you reach that thing that you think will make you feel perfect or make you look perfect, there's always going to be something else. This is in business, this is in how you look, this is in whatever. Because perfectionism is not about getting to your goals. Perfectionism is a shaming voice in your mind that says you are not enough. So no matter what you do, if you don't deal with that perfectionist voice in your mind, it will never leave you alone. You will never be enough for that voice, period. No matter what you do. Because the thing is, you can always do more, right? So if you were to get to a certain weight, well, then maybe you look at your nose and you're like, well, my nose doesn't look as good. Or, make a certain amount of money. You can always make more money, certain amount of success, etc. No matter what it is, there can always be more. So this idea that, when you reach a certain place, you'll feel perfect, that's a fantasy. That doesn't happen. So I think the thing that we can do is take a step back and recognize, hey, this voice, this kind of like slave master in my mind that is trying to push me into perfectionism, maybe that's something that is just always going to be here no matter what I do. So maybe I should look at the voice and look at how to get rid of that voice rather than how to do what it says in order to reach this perception of perfection. The third tip is to stop comparing yourself to people. And this is so hard. We all do it. I mean, I know for me, even at the beginning of this year, I would look on social media or even talk to some of my friends and see some of the things they were doing in their lives. They were touring, they were doing all this cool stuff, which is awesome. And it was weird because I would feel this mix of like being really happy for them, but also being like, fuck, I wish I was doing that. Or I wish I, got that job, or I wish that I was in a relationship or whatever. And the thing is, that is just a recipe for misery. So it's like, I think for me, right now I'm so focused on what does it look like to be present in my own life and to be really grateful for the things that I have. Because that takes me out of the mode of comparing myself to other people. Again, we don't know what's going on in their lives. So it's like, yeah, they could be in a really good point in their lives where everything is working out, and that's freaking awesome. But also, one area of their life could be working out while another area is falling apart. We just truly don't know. So for us to be comparing our lives to somebody else's when we don't have the full picture, no matter how much we talk to them, no matter how much we follow them online, it's only doing ourselves a disservice. And that goes seamlessly into the next tip, which is to give yourself grace to just be you. This is something that I really struggled with for a long time, which was believing that I am enough just as I am. You know, I have my quirks, I have my flaws, I have all these different things, but that's part of what makes me who I am. And also, I'm a work in progress. I think a lot of us put so much pressure on ourselves to have everything figured out by a certain time. And that time keeps getting younger and younger, right? Because we see like all these influencers and all these different people who seem to have their lives figured out at such a young age. But the thing is, you talk to most people, or really anyone who's self aware, and you realize that nobody has their life fully figured out. Even when you're old, there are people who are in their 60s, who are in their 70s, who are still feeling like they don't know what they're doing with their lives, or that they did for a while and then it changed. Life is a constant cycle, it's constant growing, it's constant changing. So you are never going to have things figured out completely. So I think the most important thing that we can do is give ourselves grace to just go through life the best way that we can. And something I like to tell myself a lot actually is I'm doing the best I can, and that's all I can do. Because that's the truth. If I'm literally giving my all into whatever I'm doing, into my growth, into my happiness, into my career, whatever, that's that's all I can do. I can't do anything else. So for me to be angry at myself or shaming myself for not doing more when I'm already doing the best that I can, what's the end result? What are you trying to shame yourself into? Like there's no end result there. So I think just recognizing that like you are a person in need of grace. It's okay. It's okay to not be this image of perfection. It's okay if your life is really messy right now. It's okay if things aren't working out the way that you thought they would. That's life, man. That's just being human. It's part of it. And my last and final tip is to get started imperfectly. Something that I know for myself that I would do a lot is I would have this kind of vision of things that I wanted to do, but I'd feel like I'd have to have everything figured out before I even started. It was a perfectionist mindset that would then paralyze me. I'd be like, well, I can't do it, to an expert ability yet, so therefore I shouldn't do it at all. And that's just going to prevent us from doing anything, right? It'll prevent us from growing. It'll prevent us from making anything. For example, this podcast, I can't light myself for shit. I don't know how lighting works. So I just look either like a ghost or I look sort of okay today. It really changes. Depending on the natural light outside, I could look either way. And to be honest, there was a part of me that was like, well, maybe I should just do like a lot of research on lighting. But I know myself. I would get into that research and then I'd be like, oh my God, there's so much equipment that I need. I need to buy so many things. I need to learn. And then I just wouldn't do it. So it was kind of like of the mindset of like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to do it because I kind of want to do this. I think it'd be kind of fun. It'd be cool to talk about all these things that I'm really passionate about. And I'm just going to go for it. And no, it's not perfect. But that's okay. If we don't even allow ourselves to get started, then we're never going to get to a point where we could be experts at something. You have to start somewhere. So might as well just give yourself, again, the grace to realize that, you know what? You're going to start this new thing. It's not going to be perfect. Might not even be very good. But if you enjoy the process of making it, if you enjoy the process of doing it, then it's worth it because you're learning something from it and you're becoming better at it. I think the overall message of this is that you are not perfect. You're not. You're never going to be. Because what is perfection? Nobody's perfect. There is no like human that we can put on a pedestal and be like, that is what perfect looks like. Even though I know a lot of us have celebrities that we do that with. We don't actually know those people. We have these parasocial bonds with these people. We don't actually know them. There is no perfect person. We are all dealing with stuff. We're all struggling in different areas of our lives. And so the more that I think we can just work on becoming the best version of ourselves, flaws and all, messiness and all, I think that will allow us to have a much happier life than we have now when we're just comparing ourselves to unreachable levels of perfection that don't actually exist. So those are my 5 tips on overcoming perfectionism. I hope that helped. If you would like, can listen to my song that's all about this. It's one that probably came from the most vulnerable place in my life where I had just total mental breakdown. And I was like, oh my God, nothing I'm doing is good enough. Nothing, I am not good enough, all this different stuff. And then I finally kind of had an epiphany of being like, you know what? I'm imperfect. That's okay. I'm doing the best that I can today. And if that isn't enough, then what could be? I'm imperfect perfectly. And that's what the chorus of the song, the whole song is about. So if you want to listen to that song, if you need some inspiration, check it out. The link is in the bio, along with my entire album that I released, all about overcoming trauma, growing through pain. It's called Playing with Power. It's probably the greatest accomplishment of my life, which I'm really, really excited to share with you. So thank you so much for listening. Next week, we're going to go into the behind the scenes of that song, tell you a little bit more about why I wrote it, the situation that encouraged me to write the song, as well as the process of it. So excited to see you next week. And then after that, we're going to go back into more interviews, and it's going to be awesome. I don't know what I was going to do a peace sign, and then I just did one finger. Awesome. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.